name is Helen Day, and I'm Vice President of the Friends of Maple Grove. And I'm joined today by cemetery historian and former Friends President, Carl Bolinas.
All right. This year marks our 150th anniversary of Maple Grove Cemetery, a place where history rests, memory flourishes, and the stories of the past find their voice once more.
We are deeply honored today to welcome Francisco Paco Reyero, celebrated Spanish journalist and author who will present his acclaimed book, And Bernardo de Galvez Entered Washington. In this riveting work, Mr. Reyero tells the extraordinary story of Bernardo de Galvez, the Spanish governor and military leader whose crucial support helped secure American independence during the Revolutionary War. Though long overlooked by history, Galvez's valor and vision earned him at last the title of honorary U.S. citizen, a distinction held by only 8 individuals, including General Lafayette and Winston Churchill.
This event would not have been made possible without the dedicated support of the Daughters of the American Revolution, the DAR, whose commitment to preserving our nation's history is both noble and inspiring. We extend our heartfelt thanks to the members who helped organize today's program and ensure that the story of Galvez and the shared legacy between Spain and America is not forgotten.
Today's presentation is also dedicated to the memory of Roberto Reyes, 1938 to 2021, a brilliant flamenco guitarist, teacher, choreographer, and singer. Roberto lived and breathed the spirit of Spanish culture. Like Galvez, he built bridges through music, through art, through passion. It is fitting that his memory should shine brightly on this day of historic reflection. And we also welcome his wife, Rita.
So please kindly take this moment to silence cell phones. After the lecture, we invite you to join us, and we will have, well, I think it's almost all gone, selling copies of the illustrious book and signing them. We'll also have a light reception, but please, I guess that there's no food, no drinks on any of the chairs. Everything will be food be on that side, okay? Thank you very much. So now let us open our hearts and minds to the echoes of the past and the voices that still speak from it. Please join me in warmly welcoming Francisco Reyes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you for your effort and support, Leslie. Doing possible this presentation here in Queens, in Maple Grove. And yes, and I'm working for a long time ago about the bonds and ties between the United States and Spain, considering that our country was here administration about 2/3 of the totalities of the land, and then you can see a lot of signal when you are on the road, or driving, go west, and when you came here for the first time, you're a Spaniard, and then we never know in the school about our own past, that Spain was here during centuries. We are very related to Hispanic America, like Peru, where Rita is from. But most of us, we don't know about the relation with the United States. And so it's some kind of a big gap. And when I started to came here around 20 years ago, and then I was driving to the west. I was a foreign correspondent from my national radio station. It's Radio Nacional de España. It's the main public station there. And I was to Oklahoma. And after Oklahoma, I was in New Mexico for the first time. And then, as you know, we are not accustomed to know that kind of historical information. And then you can see Colorado is like red in Spanish, or you see Montana, we have the letter Ñ, and it's montaña, really. Nevada is snow, and California, Los Angeles, you know, San Francisco and all of that, and San Antonio. And then you all of a sudden say, what is happening here? It's, American people are very interested to use Spanish name for their cities. It's not that we stay here for more than 3 centuries. And then I have a program in the radio, now it's called Atlantic Express. It's a metaphoric train that back and forth from the United States to Spain. And we have, we are on air for the last 5 years, and every week we offer a story about how the things have been going on the last 3 centuries. Different, you know, titles. Canary Island, where the origin of San Antonio, for instance, or you know, from my region in Andalusia, we're working in Hawaii for a long time ago, or Guastavino, a very famous architect that was the designer of the Grand Central Station, and it's a marvel of architect about the, you know, the end of 19th century at the beginning of the 20th century, and he has a very peculiar style. You know, you go to the Capitol and you go to the Hispanic reading room, and there is a marvelous library about the relationship between one part and the other. And then it's now it's the we can see now the map of the United States, the different states. This is the Spanish period, and we can see now that when the American Revolutionary War starts, then the 13 colonies and basically the rest were under administration of Spain. And then what happened after the Declaration of Independence, that Washington needed a lot of help. And then where are you going to ask for help? Probably your neighbor. Who is your neighbor? Is Spanish neighbor. And then the Spanish neighbor were, you know, governing all the rest of the continent. And who was the man there on duty was Bernardo de Galvez, who was the governor of New Orleans, Louisiana. It's not the same Louisiana that nowadays, because it was a very big piece of land from Gulf of Mexico to Canada, and you know, with the border of the Mississippi River. And then Bernardo de Galvez, who was the governor, started to offer help and support to the Revolutionary Army. And previously that the King of Spain and the King of France officially declared the war to Great Britain and decided to administrate guns or rifles or blankets or different things that the Revolutionary Army were needing with very high necessity. So there's the capital, and then we, well, you know, we think about we have some kind of past of the Hispanic period in the main building of the power in United States, and then you go there and then you can see under the rotunda of the Capitol the big paintings. You have there 6 paintings, six big paintings, and then you have 2 that they are dedicated to one of to Colón and the other to Fernando de Soto, who was the explorer who was discovering we can say discovering now, the Mississippi River. And it's a very, for us, it's a very peculiar aspect that we cannot imagine that in the Capitol we have some kind of recognition. You go to the Capitol in the door of Senate, you can see resume of history of Colón in the door of the Senate. And now I'm going to show you the book. So I'd like to share with you the Bernardo de Galvez. Bernardo de Galvez was the governor, and then he was a young man, he was very brave, and then he was under the relation with his aunt, Jose de Galvez, was very important under the administration of the Charles III at the end of 18th century. And then Fernando de Galvez was appointed to be the governor of Louisiana, based on New Orleans. The years before that the Declaration of Independence was consumed. And Bernardo de Galvez was, moving and having a very intelligent strategy to take under his own control point of the Mississippi River, and especially, as you know, the Battle of Pensacola in 1781, that was absolutely important for the victory of the George Washington Army. What happened after is that Bernardo de Galvez died really young as the person in charge of New Spain, now Mexico, and he died with he was only 40 years old, after helping the army of George Washington. And he's not so popular as Lafayette. He's really popular. When Lafayette died, he was very good trying to promote himself, and then he was making a final tour here in the United States. And then someone asked to Lafayette, Mr. Lafayette, when you die, you're gonna be buried here in the United States, or you're gonna be buried in France? And Lafayette said, I need to be buried in France, but I will do with sand from the United States. That is a very, very smart, trying to combine the two hearts that were beating in his chest. So when Fernando de Galvez disappeared at the end of 19th century, he's not very well known in Spain too. But recently, about 15 years ago, a historian from Spain was in the main archives of that period in Spain, that is National Archives of India in Seville. And his name is Manuel Olmedo Checa. And Manuel Olmedo Checa found that George Washington was a very committed to Bernardo de Galvez has a painting on the building of the tower. The Capitol wasn't built on that year, but he has a compromise. He said Bernardo de Galvez will be honored with a painting and the main building of the American Power. That never happened. And then a very intensive lady that is called Teresa Valcarte. She works in Union, and she is living in Washington, D.C. For the last 25 years. And then she knew that the discovery of Bernardo de Galvez was never done. And then she, by herself, started to move to the Capitol and the different buildings of the power in Washington, knocking on the door, like a very small fish, swimming around the sharks there. And then she started to knock on the door and say, well, I'm from Spain, and you know that we have a hero called Bernardo de Galvez, and you know the different congressmen, and they're like, who are you? You are needing money. You need money, or who is your boss? You are a lobbyist, and then she said, no, I'm by myself. I only want some kind of historical justice. And then the newspaper started to pay attention to this very peculiar lady. Who are you, and why are you doing that kind of task? Is not a very common personality. So she's a really insistent woman, absolutely insistent woman. She's very tenacious, and then she was able to involve our government and the government of the United States of America. And then finally, in 2014, this is the Washington Post described the lady on the portrait, because she was, she's an absolutely not frequent kind of character, even in the movies. It's very strange, because she was working for a union, and then she was married to an American, and then she started to do that because she was thinking that was a very unfair with her country and her hero. Then this is our former president of government, Mariano Rajoy, and then she was able to ask for painting, and then she moved the painting to the Senate, and the painting is there hanged because of her effort. Then you can see the inauguration of the painting. Then the book is about how some forgotten aspect of the history. If you don't have a very strong, trying to be very conscious that you cannot forget different aspects that are absolutely fundamental for the way that we have the society, our behavior, and our relationship between one and the other. So she success. She had a big success. She is still working in the union. She's very recognized in the different societies of in that photograph, where is the portrait of Bernardo de Galvez in the Capitol. It's in a Senate, in the Senate, in a room of the Senate. We have here the celebration of Winston Churchill honorary citizenship, and the different honorary citizens that you have here in the United States, with Churchill or Penn or Woodruff. I'd like to show you now, because in the same year that the portrait of Bernardo de Galvez was hanged there in the Senate, another group very important from the South, the land where Bernardo de Galvez was moving at the end of the 18th century, people from Texas, Louisiana, and Florida were pushing, trying to, Bernardo de Galvez was bestowed as an honorary citizen. And then this lady here in the photograph is Nancy Fetterman. She's an historian. And then she is the author of the different principles that finally both chambers, House of Representatives and the Senate, were signing with no any kind of protesters there. The different the two parties entirely were they agreed about Bernardo de Galvez must be honorary citizen. And at the end, President Barack Obama signed the declaration as honorary citizen in 2014. And then the book is about how you need to be very conscious of what is your task here, because you have in this book, this is it's a book of journalists. You have a lady that is not the common character in the story. A group of American citizens that they are telling us, well, we need that these kind of personalities in the history, they need to be recognized. And then it's different group, yeah, like your group, the Daughters of American Revolution, or groups like the Bernardo de Galvez groups, that they are very, they work really strong, trying that we not forget this kind of story. And then it's that the point of the book. But this is the book of a journalist. I'm a journalist. I'm not like an author. I go to the different persons that they are involved with that kind of story, and I ask, well, why are you doing this kind of work? You are not waiting for a prize or an award. And then it's as Teresa said, it's because I need to do that. That's the way it is. And then this is the thing that I wanted to share with you. And then if anyone of you have some question, okay, listen.
So I'm curious about the original document that you had in there that was like halfway maybe. You had a really old paper, and I'm wondering where that came from, and if there's other documents of original documents of his somewhere in the archive. Yes.
Yeah, this one is it's found in National Archive of Spain. It's Indian archives. The archives are in Seville, and it was found by Manuel Olmedo. It's an historian, and he was there trying to find different aspects of Bernardo de Galvez. He is the vice president of an association there. It's called Bernardo de Galvez Association in Malaga. Galvez was originally from Malaga in the south of Spain, and he was doing different kind of work. He was a military man and a politician. We need to think about the mentality of at the end of the 18th century. And he was in the north of Africa in different military campaigns. And after that, he was here in Louisiana. And Olmedo Checa discovered, found the document, and he started to move it on the local press there in Spain. But no one is really interested in. They published that, and then they published it like a very important news, but not the government, not the main power of Spain started to say, well, we have here a good story, no. But the turning point is with Teresa Valcárcel, the lady, started to move from Washington, D.C., around Capitol by herself.
Sorry. There's kind of an irony here that Spain, like France, helped the revolutionary movement, because 30, 40 years later, revolutionary figures in South America, like Bolivar and others, would look to the United States, and they actually looked for help from Jefferson, whatever, to free themselves from the Spanish Empire. So there's a bit of an irony there in all that. And I'm also curious, the United States went to war with Spain, of course, a century later. So I'm curious how the Spanish view our relationship with the United States historically. I mean, obviously now we're allies or whatever, but how is the history of the United States viewed from Spain? I'm curious.
How is the
Like, I'm curious because I'm just curious. Like, like I said, we did go. Like the United States tried to kick out most of the European powers during the 19th century, and eventually led to a war in 1897. So I'm just curious if how that's viewed, how that war is viewed from
now.
Yeah.
Well, you know that if you have a segment of the history, you can have different positions, because we have, as you said before, allies and enemies in different moments of the history. But we don't have a special interest in general about these kind of things. And then the next year, you're going to celebrate 250, and then our government don't have a specific task to be present on the moment. And 50 years ago, when it was the 200 anniversary, the former king of Spain, Juan Carlos, was in Washington and was, having a meeting with Richard Ford, that was the president. And then it was another moment of the history. But now, I don't know, with the new administration, the Trump administration, and our own administration, if we are going to be right and on time.
So you brought up the point I was going to bring about the 250th anniversary as another chance to elevate this whole topic in the U.S. What about his family? Do you have children, wife? Nothing that nobody would have
He married
perpetuated?
with a woman from Louisiana,
Oh, okay.
but no descendants, no daughter, no son, and then it's a kind of dynasty because Bernardo has a very powerful uncle. He was Jose de Gato, that he was, he was directing the different movement in the New Spain, in Texas, and all of that part. But all of them died, and the history didn't pay them good attention to that. And he has no descendant. He has no, like a second or third generation of Galvez.
I just had a question.
Sorry.
You had a big map from like 1781 where like Spain is owning half of the United States, including Louisiana. But Jefferson purchased that land from the French.
Yeah.
I don't understand how it was all Spanish, and then why did Jefferson not purchase it
No,
from
because
Spain?
you have a different period, and in that period they change France and Spain are under the same dynasty. They are Bourbon. They are the same dynasty, and in different period they are pushing, they are fighting, or they have a good agreement or an agreement. I don't know. But then Napoleon and Jefferson, and then they sold the Louisiana, but not in the moment that Bernardo de Galvez was governor of Louisiana. Previously, France had for decades the different piece of that land, and after that, Spain again regained that land, that control. It depends when you are focusing the year that you want to study.
Do you know what happened to him? Why he died so young?
He different kind of explanations, and then even that he has some kind of stomach problem, and he died in Mexico.
Is he buried there?
He's buried there in a church of San Fernando, and he's there in Mexico. Only he was 40 years old when he died. He was young. Well, it depends because obviously those years you have less possibilities to have a long life. Probably I don't know the hope of life there. It's 50, 60. I don't know.
So all this information you're giving us is in your book?
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's, as I said before, it's a book of journalists trying to know about where is the interesting point of the history. My personal opinion.
I'm sorry.
So, well, it's a pleasure to me to be here with you, and then it's sorry about my English that I need to be. No, I need to be more fluent in English. But when I came here, I only have 3 days. I arrived on Wednesday, and I need to talk more to to have a good speed of that. Probably next time I will be better.